You are your community.
You have to have some resilience because it's not the easiest space to work in.
I lead by listening. I don't get on with everybody. There are certain people that I didn't get on with. I had to basically leave my marriage and my daughter and move to Brisbane to basically save the life of my son. Every day I wrote in that book every single thing that happened during the day, and it was really quite cathartic for me at the time. I wanted to stab him in the eye with a fork.
How people perceive the whole thing is totally different as well.
Yeah.
The commentary you get, they think they understand what you're going through and then try and tell you how to solve the problem.
Don't judge. Take time.
Hello everyone, my name is Graham Strang and I hope my younger self is listening. Today's guest is very well known in Toowoomba, Capp, regional Queenslander, community leader, author, advocate and proud Toowoomba local. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Graham.
You want to get straight into it?
Sure.
Why not? So, you grew up between Dirranbandi and
Gadooga,
then Miles and Wandoan. And you went to boarding school. So what was it like growing up in the bush?
I actually loved it. There were certain parts we were quite remote. Like we lived between, when I was very young, lived between Gadooga and Dirranbandi. So we're about 2.5 hours from Dirran. And so I went to boarding school in grade 2. But I was a weekly boarder. So Mum used to drive me in and drop me off on a Monday and then pick me up on Friday.
School?
At the Dirranbandi State School.
Oh, yep.
And I lived at the CWA in Dirranbandi. And I was 7 years old at the time.
My grandmother was a big CWA lady. I remember the CW accommodation in Winton. It wasn't much to it. I'm assuming it was not much different.
It wasn't much different because I've seen the one at Winton as well, and they used to use their space up at Winton as well a long time ago as boarding school for kids that were right out in the middle of nowhere.
Rickety ceiling fan and glass louvers. That's all I can remember.
No, it was
hot.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, it was good because I was quite young, and I was probably one of the youngest in the centre, so I was quite spoilt. But I did miss my parents terribly. Mum and Dad were running a property sort of near Cubby Station, a little bit further southwest than Cubby. So if anyone knows that sort of area, so that's where I grew up in that space. And the person that we were managing the property for sold the property and we moved to Wandoan. Well, Gilligulgull actually is where I lived, and I went to school at Galugabar with Deb Frecklington.
Oh,
yeah. So Deb Frecklington was in my sister's year and Deb's sister Jackie was in my year. So grew up with her, yeah.
Do you have a particular great memory of those bush younger years?
Probably the freedom that we had as kids. We were all, Melissa and I have one sister, and she and I basically learnt to drive very young. We learnt to shoot very young. We just had a childhood that was really quite free. And the one thing that we did love that. I didn't enjoy the isolation. I'm very much a people person, so I craved parties and get-togethers and holidays at the beach and things.
The social experience.
Yeah, the social side of things was probably the bit that I didn't enjoy because it was quite remote.
But look, obviously growing up in that bush side of things, you learnt a lot about work ethic, community, and just the respect that you have to hold for people in that area because everyone relies on each other.
Very much so. When we were at Dirranbandi, Mum was very involved with quite a few things, but it was obviously because it was so far apart and we were a lot younger then, so I don't have great memories of that. When we went to Wandoan, Mum was involved in everything from P&Cs through to show societies, through to raising money for local areas and things to build buildings and I just learnt the importance of actually being part of a community like that. It's part of my DNA, very much so. My grandfather and grandmother were very much involved with Gadooga, and they practically built the town. So I've learnt from a very young age that you are your community. Sometimes you can't do as much as you want to because, my dad didn't do a huge amount, but he was always working on the property. But my mum was always involved in everything. So
is that where your advocacy came in as well? Like, because, you've always been well known for that you work in Toowoomba around that side of things. Is that your grandparents coming through there?
Very much so. very much so. Looking after the growth and looking after and finding out what's actually needed in a space has always been something that I've been quite passionate about. I can't see the point in, just because we're remote and we are restricted to where we are geographically, in this day and age, we should have the same opportunities and the same facilities that you do in your cities.
And look, it's a fascinating, because to see on that with Toowoomba, John said it last week. He said on one hand we're southeast Queensland, the next hand we're southwest, just depending on where they want to push us around a little bit. And that's where that advocacy is so important, because no, we're southeast. We want that funding or whatever it might be.
Very much so, Graham. And we're seeing it all the time. I mean, you've got to look at the charities that we've got here that have been self-made, self-funded, self-built by people who are passionate about their city. And at the moment, we're now fighting to keep one of those doors open with Momentum Mental Health. Yeah. We fought for Protea Place recently to keep it open.
What a win that was.
It's fantastic. And we really need to make our governments, all levels of government, actually stand up and listen that really, if you don't start doing something for us, there's going to be people like us that are just going to step away, because honestly, we do far more as an individual and as people that aren't related to any level of government than a lot of people that actually are in government.
Well, John and I had a long chat, and there was about volunteering. And then you look at the average age of a volunteer now, we're probably the young ones.
Yes, we are.
And that frightens me, because once you go back to your grandparents, that volunteers were everywhere from 20, 25, 30, 35. That whole bracket was in there.
Yeah.
But they're not now.
No. Even the service groups and things that we had, there's Apex and there's Lions and there's Rotary, they're all doing a real scream at the moment to try and get some of the younger people back involved in those groups. I mean, we have other groups that have branched off, like the different ones that we've got here in town.
Lions is a classic one. Yeah. Look at the barbecue at Bunnings when you go there. Yeah. If there's anyone there under 65, you're highly surprised.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And I think it's also where we are too, though, as a community. We all have to work. So when you and I were growing up, our mums and dads probably were more involved in things because only one of them actually worked, which was the case in my family. But at the same time, now we're actually going, well, hang on, we have to continue growing our cities and growing our towns. And if we don't stand up and be advocates, or we don't stand up and fill a void when it needs to be filled, then who is actually going to do it?
So, speaking of filling voids, your first job, Telford's. Tell me.
Remember Telford's?
I was before my time. I was Burke and Wills. But
okay.
I never knew it was actually called Telford's until you actually put it in the notes. How did you get your first job? Tell us about it.
So I was a student at Gatton Ag.
Yep.
And I was studying hotel catering, which was called Hot Capp at the time. Don't ask why, but anyway, it was. And I needed, so it was basically hospitality, and I needed a job, and I used to drive up the hill every Friday and Saturday night, and I worked at a bar called Telford's, which was like a nightclub bar, and I used to, there were certain songs, and we used to have to stand up on the counter and dance when those songs came on. Gone are those days.
Teela had just sat up somewhere and gone, I need to know more about Joan dancing.
Oh my God. And I wasn't a good dancer, and I'm still not a good dancer, so Teela does not need me anywhere near her. But it was just hilarious. And one of the songs was Sex on the Phone or something, and we had an old phone with a cord that we had to dance with. It was just, oh my God, it was so bad. It was just hideous. It was typical it was late 80s, 1987, 88, around there. It was really bad.
That is possibly the greatest thing that's been said on this show.
I think so. You had better stuff than that.
How many people there are now going to envision you now standing on a bar in Toowoomba swinging a phone?
Pretending, that song. I don't even remember. I don't even know who sang the song, but it was dreadful. Anyway, those are the days. That was my very first paid job. I did work at home and things like that, but
Well, the next bit of the question is, what did hospitality teach you? But I kind of lost it after that.
Well, it gave me a sense of humour. I had to actually laugh at myself, and also resilience. I mean, hospitality is pretty full on. You do, I mean, I was working some pretty stupid hours right through my hospitality career. I mean, that was the start of it. So
is that what got you that bit of a look and taste at event planning? Yeah.
Very much so. So when I was that age, there wasn't anything that you could actually study to be an event planner, and it was known as banqueting back then. So you had food and beverage department, and you used to either be in, so I worked in big hotels and things. Then I went to work with the Ramada Hotel in Cairns, and then the Ramada Hotel in Service Paradise. And I worked my way up basically from a waitress right through to a restaurant manager.
Yep.
But I always wanted to go into banqueting. That was my goal, was to be part of that space.
Did you ever have to learn silver service?
Yes, I did learn silver service. I learnt silver service and Gueridon. I did all of the liqueur trolleys and dessert trolleys, the whole thing.
So I did my hospitality training at TAFE here in the early 90s and working at Rumours, and found out that, because I'm left-handed, you cannot do silver service left-handed. I had to learn everything right-handed. It was terrible. Picking up those mini potatoes, I swear to God I was going to go to jail. Well, because I just didn't have the coordination.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have, no.
So how long were you away from Toowoomba for then?
So left Toowoomba about 88, 89, and came back with my now husband. We moved back here in 94 or something, so not very long. So I spent most of my life in Toowoomba. I'm very much a Toowoomba girl.
Yeah, I've had 3 goes and I'm stuck here now by the look of it. So where did the community work come from then? Because you've done so much work in fundraising, and I'm assuming there has to be a connection in this year.
Yeah, so what happened was, because I had gone into banqueting or event planning or party planning or whatever it was, people saw me as an opportunity of obviously I could organise things. I could put things together and get a group of people to come along and raise money for certain gigs. So I was actually asked to go in the Girl in a Million Quest. So the RSL Girl in a Million Quest it no longer exists, but it was similar to like Miss Queensland, that sort of thing. And I started raising money for the RSL, and I really enjoyed it. I absolutely loved it. And I thought, if I can organise an event and raise a few dollars for a charity that's needed, that's called a fundraiser. But also back in those days, people just didn't pay people to fundraise. People just assumed you'd just do it. But now it is a paid job. It actually has you can do certificates and, well, not so much a degree, but you can do a diploma. You can do a degree in event planning, but fundraising now you can actually learn a lot more. There's actually the Fundraising Institute of Australia. It's known as a massive opportunity for work. So that's where I moved into that side of things. And then I started working for the Leukemia Foundation. But this was all before I had to actually raise money for a charity that I really am very passionate about now.
So did you have many challenges along the way getting into these spaces? Because obviously we've touched on the humour, but working especially in the fundraising side of the world, you have to have some resilience, because it's not the easiest space to work in.
No, and my dad often says, well, I never had any problem asking him for money, so why would I have any problem asking anybody else? I don't see an issue with fundraising and philanthropy. I often see it as an opportunity. If I don't ask you to be part of something or to give to something that I think that you would really love to be part of, then you're going to miss out.
Yeah.
So I look at it that way, whereas I know that there's people out there that really struggle when they have to do some fundraising. They go, I just don't really want to go and ask. I just see it as an opportunity. If I truly believe in the charity or the particular thing that I am raising funds for, then I don't have an issue in actually getting more people involved.
And the worst answer is no.
That's right. And that's okay. If people say no, then it's obviously not the right fit, and I didn't get the person right, and they can't afford it, or they're not interested. That's fine. But and actually is good.
It's a really hard thing to teach, that you won't know unless you actually ask the question.
Yeah.
You've asked me plenty of things. I've said yes and no to many of the different ones.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the different hospitality things connect in Toowoomba. So Jimmy was my first proper hospitality boss. And then we talk about Telford. So it just made me think about back to Tequila Willie's and the Cordy and the High Court Cafe and how all those venues have changed, but only a bit.
Yeah.
They've still got that. Well, Tequila Willie's is no longer here. They're probably surprised it never caught fire. But look at the Burke and Wills, how it's evolved through its transition time. How have you viewed hospitality in Toowoomba and how it's changed over time?
I think that Toowoomba we still crave the good dining experience.
Yep.
We really do like going somewhere really, really nice to eat, like Encores and Gips and now Lulaki and Host and, Bergen, of course, Bergen, oh my goodness. And, there are so many of those fantastic places here in town that Toowoomba really does crave it, and the country person coming in from out west enjoys that. However, we have a fantastic pub culture too. So, and that pub culture has changed a lot over the years as well. I think our hospitality is actually quite good in Toowoomba in relation to everyone knows everyone. We're very friendly, but it has recently. There's been a massive. We've lost a few good ones, like the Plate and Encores and trying to think off the top of my head. But
Picnic Point nearly went.
Yeah, Picnic Point.
I don't know whether that's going to come through with that or not, but the extension will get them anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Toowoomba has a lot more to offer.
Yeah.
We just don't seem to be able to grab hold of it and hang on to it for long.
Look, I'm a big part of revitalising that. Inner city living, I've come to the conclusion, is the only way that the main street will actually get that life they keep talking about. It's just bums on seats.
Yeah.
We can talk about all the work we want, but unless we have those core people who are frequenting either in the mornings or in the evenings to give it that buzz so that then they're always bringing their friends.
Yeah.
Michael and Taylor just bought a business down there. I'm getting a closer look at it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see where all that goes.
Yeah. It definitely, Walton's Stores, and I'm assuming that's what you're talking with, Tailgate, was fantastic. So I used to, when I had the event group, the three of us, we used to help the management of that space. Yep. So we saw the coming and goings of the changes of, we had Nitrogeni in there before Tailgate, we had Harajuku in there before that, we had, there were quite a few changes.
It was the chicken place that Teal and I really loved. They were one of the original ones.
Yeah, and then there was Junk.
Yep.
Remember Junk and Moose? The Moose.
I forgot that Moose.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of changes in that very small space, but that laneway eating, that laneway dining is something that we should really be grabbing hold of. Zambreros is there as well.
That's just changed ownership.
Oh, well, there you go. So,
the guy who owns the other ones in town has bought it.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it'll only go up the list.
Oh, okay. Very good.
We've just had a very big chat about Toowoomba and the main street, but I probably want to segue into leadership. Now, everyone has their own view on what a leader is, how you lead a group of people or an event or that description. What's your view on leadership?
I'm a leader that actually, I don't know what the term is, but I think it's something like flatline in the sense that I lead by listening. I'm very much a reason of finding out why they need me to lead, usually, because each of my events and things usually have a completely different why. Yep. I'm finding that people are looking toward me for leadership a lot more so now, and maybe it's because I've got grey hair. Yeah, that's right. I think, but it's also, the grey hair is obviously a testament to a lot of the stuff that I have done. I often get, with my leaderships as well, sometimes I think, I think I'm just not worthy of being that leader. Like the imposter syndrome, which I know you have spoken about with many of your guests on here, and it is definitely a thing. But it's also something that is really quite handy to have because it gives you humility and it actually makes you step back and really listen. And then you go, oh wow, I do know the answer to that, or I can help in this space.
My experience, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
I see so many young leaders who are just trying to figure it out, and if they don't have the mentors, it just you see them. It takes a very long time. Do you have some mentors that just come to your mind that if you hadn't had them, you may not be where you are now?
Yeah, there's been a lot that throughout. I mean, I haven't stuck with any, and like I've had someone all the way through, like a real little Yoda somewhere. I just basically have utilised everyone that I've come across as often and as much as I can. Emma McTaggart was definitely someone that really pushed me to write the book, and she was the one that gave me the confidence to actually talk about.
I love her directness.
Yeah. Her directness is great. And she just has that opportunity her leadership style is about coaching you into doing something and getting more out of, she already knows what you're capable of, and she's just making sure that you get there.
How have you balanced the tough conversations though? Like in leadership is great when it's all working, when it's all going well and the birds are tweeting and the sun has come up. How do you handle leadership when you've got to have hard conversations or everything's not running well and you've got to change direction? How do you handle a team when you've got to go?
Yeah, well, that does happen. Once again, it's a lot about listening. It's a lot about finding out why that pull is pulling when it should be pushing. And you need to almost be mindful of where that person is or where that team is at that particular time. My way of actually pulling people back into line is actually almost getting them to realise what they're doing is not going to be substantial or beneficial to what they want to do. It's more about coaching them back into actually realising that, you know, that's not really the right way to do it. And it's okay to disagree. This is the other thing about leadership. It's allowing people to have their own opinion, have their own beliefs, have their own, but as long as there is respect and equal respect on either side, you can usually manipulate things to actually keep everyone on the same track.
Yeah, because we're not right all the time.
No.
Sometimes we
I'm
get stuck.
definitely not right all the time. Oh.
So, like one here around your Hope Horizons work and raising over $1 million to do that. The leadership it took you to pull that together was quite monumental.
Oh, thank you. I'm very, very proud of Hope Horizons, yeah.
Can you touch on some of the bits in there? Because, I mean, I'm assuming that was not a straight line.
No, there was not a straight line. So Hope Horizons is probably one of the most amazing things I've ever done or ever been part of. I didn't do it. It's definitely been a massive group goal, and and there's still a long way to go. I mean, it's another one of those charities that fights for the funding and needs it. So we came up with a concept. The idea was actually devised by a lady by the name of Capp, and she's a nurse, and she saw the need. And it was something that I wrote about quite a lot in my book, the actual support that's needed around people when they're going through cancer, not just the cancer patient, but also the cancer carer. And so then we were all volunteers, and we opened the group with $20. We basically had $20, and we had a vision and a mission, and we did all of those things that we get told all the time with our strategic planning, and we did it all. And we just knew that we had to then find somewhere, and we rented a place, and then we got cheaper rent, and then we just grew and grew and grew. And once we kept telling and staying on that same trajectory and staying on that same line, eventually people could see what we were doing was right, and it was good for our region. And so then it was easier for me then to ask for the bigger dollars. So, yeah, it was not an easy road, definitely not. So going from having $20 in our bank account to now owning that property over the other side of town, which would be now probably, if it was valued at it, now that it's being built on, would be well over $2.5 million.
Did you ever have a make or break moment in it?
Yeah. I don't get on with everybody. There are certain people that I didn't get on with, and I mean, those people, and they're great people. They do their thing, but our personalities definitely didn't mesh, and there were sometimes some really cranky heads there, and there were mistakes made and things said, but if you're on the same trajectory, once again, you've got to listen, and they listen to you, and you respect one another, then you can just keep moving forward.
Oh, and that thing said is one of the hardest things is that, especially when it's pressure and everyone's tired and things, and we still do it, is the ability to be able to go, hang on, we need to pull ourselves up and go, okay, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
And if you're a good enough team, you can move through it all.
that's right.
And that's where I find a lot of the dismantling happens, is that the first proper squibble, this whole thing goes to pieces, where everyone, the good ones can go, you know what, okay, we've got a bit frustrated, back on course, let's keep going.
And you've got to look at where you are yourself too. If you're really tired and really emotional, tired and emotional, or tired and busy, those are those words that if you are in those positions, you're going to make decisions that aren't really well thought out. One of the best advice things that was ever given to me in that situation, because I was working a lot of hours and I was volunteering. I was 100% a volunteer right up until the last year that I was at Hope Horizons. I was the first paid general manager, but I was a volunteer for 7 years prior to that. So, and I was tired. I was working. Our kids are at school. They're older now. But I had a lot on my plate, and I would become so emotional, tired and emotional, and I would make decisions that were wrong. So sometimes people would say, Jo, just sleep on it. So as soon as you sleep on it, and if you can sleep on it, if you can say, hang on a sec, is this going to matter if I just go home, have dinner, go to bed and wake up the next morning? If it's not going to matter, do that, because the next day, it's always so much easier to deal with. It's always, I just find that was something, just go home and sleep on it.
That's about what I try and do. I'm not successful all the time.
No, well, we're only human.
If you could give a message to any of our future leaders, young leaders, how to learn and how to go forward in this game, what message would you give them?
Well, all the things that I've just said. Definitely don't make decisions when you're tired and emotional. Really respect one another. Make sure that you grow your relationships with everyone that you meet. I think one of the best books that I've ever read is Your Net Worth is Your Network. It's written by Porter Gale, and it's quite American, but there's a lot of things in that book that actually tell you the importance of actually growing those relationships. And, you know, when you introduced me, you know, I'm known in Toowoomba, but I'm known in Toowoomba because I try to remember people. And, oh, my goodness, that's really tough.
Oh, I remember logos. I'm bugging on people's names.
But the thing is, too, if you forget someone's name, usually it's okay to say, I'm really sorry, I've forgotten your name. Or, I know I've met you. Oh, my goodness, I've just lost it. People don't mind. Especially
you watch me, I white noise with people. I'm like, and then I've forgotten. I did it to Melissa Taylor's partner.
Navad.
Navad. I reintroduced myself to him, and Navad said, Graham, it's me. And I went, and I was just in total blah, and so embarrassed.
I think it's much easier to actually just be yourself and just go. Sometimes you just forget that person's
he thought
name.
it was hilarious.
Yeah.
He really, I reckon he laughed for about half an hour. He's lovely. How important do you think that Toowoomba still needs to keep growing and thinking big picture?
It's incredibly important, Graham, especially we've got the Olympics coming. If we don't stop thinking that we're a tiny town or a small country town, and we still have that small country town way of thinking, we're not going to get anywhere.
No.
You know, we really should be looking at how we can connect to our small satellite towns. You know, we should be making sure that we don't have these satellite little towns that's causing this terrible dysfunction, you know, with our smaller towns like Goombungie and Westbrook and Oakey. And I mean, they should all be linked in. We should all be connected to our city centre, and then our city should be connected to Brisbane. It's just unbelievable that we're not. And okay, it's going to cost a lot of money to get up the hill. We could put the train line in at Withcott, and I totally am all for that. So the more we keep talking about it, and the more we just have to make it happen. And we should have a rail network that actually connects our smaller towns to our CBD. It used to.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it used to all connect.
Oh, look, I think there's a lot to those smaller towns, especially in a tourism perspective. Coming from Western Queensland,
Definitely.
we're seeing how Winton, Longreach, Blackwell, everyone on the tourist line, as everyone drives through, they've all had to work with each other because if we don't have that tourist element coming through, those towns aren't there.
Yeah.
And I think it's very much the same locally too, that you look at some of the attractions in those little towns that unless someone actually asks the local, they probably don't know they're there.
Well, that's right. And why couldn't the little towns have their own things that they can connect for, or be not
Known
connect
for.
for, or be known for? Exactly. The Jacaranda Festival in Goombungee. I mean, why can't we just jump on the train, go out there, go to the art gallery, and come back in? It's just.
Oh, look, and you look at the parts of Toowoomba that is really punching above the line, and probably not a lot of people don't realise. I find Toowoomba can be very innovative. It can be very stuck in the mud,
Yeah.
and then the innovation is here. And I think Toowoomba struggles to balance that at times. It hasn't found that bit in the middle.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes.
So, I do have a quirky question. Arnott's chopped mint slice.
Yes. So my mother-in-law, her name was Jocelyn McFarlane, and her family name is actually Morrow. Now, people that know the history of Australian confectionery and Australian biscuits, there was a confectionery company in Brisbane called Morrow's Confectionery. They partnered and bought into Arnott's. So they were the Brisbane connection of Arnott's biscuits. So my mother-in-law passed away actually 20 years ago today.
Yep.
Actually tomorrow, the 15th. And she was an amazing woman. And she came from a family that had a lot of difficulties, but also were very, very clever. And her aunts and uncles actually brought her up. And because her mother died when she was very young, and her father had gone away to war and came back with post-traumatic stress and was quite unwell. Anyway, she went overseas in her early 20s, and she came back from overseas and she bought her brother a packet of biscuits from Harrods. And her uncles found the biscuits, and they were managing Arnott's Morrow Confectionery. And they said, "Oh, where'd you get these?" And she said, "I bought them in Harrods." And they said, "We're going to copy them." And that's how we got the chopped mint slice.
Well, there you go.
There you go. And that is a true story.
It's just
So
fascinating.
if she hadn't brought them back, we would not have the chopped mint slice.
Well, thank you. And I think for Tila, very much thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we've had lots of fun stuff, but now we're going to get into talking about family. You've done some amazing things, but you've had some challenges as well. And as I always say, comfortable is uncomfortable. How has motherhood changed you?
Well, my motherhood story is quite unique, thank goodness. And I do know lots of people that have been through what I've been through, and some have had a worse time than I've had. So I have a beautiful daughter who's now 26, and I have a son who's 24. When my son was 5 and my daughter was 7, she might have been just 8, and he was turning 6. He was diagnosed with cancer, a bone cancer called Ewing's sarcoma. And it was quite an aggressive cancer, and it was in his right tibia. We were given not a great deal of chance to basically beat it because it was quite aggressive. But the thing was, he didn't have metastases, which meant he didn't have secondaries. They did think he did at one stage, but it all turned out negatively. So we were very lucky to actually go through a lot of chemotherapy and beat the cancer. But what happened during that time is his cancer affected me to a point where I completely changed. My marriage completely changed. I had to basically leave my marriage and my daughter and move to Brisbane to basically save the life of my son. And David and Alex used to come down every weekend, and Reed and I stayed down there, and my mum moved in down there with me as well. And the chemotherapy and the treatment that Reed was having almost killed him. So it wasn't the cancer that was killing him, it was actually the illnesses and the things that were related to that. So the support that I needed I needed around that time was huge. And I was very, very lucky to have got it because I had a fantastic friend network, and the kids were at school at Mater Day at the time, and that whole Mater Day community just wrapped their arms around us and really looked after us beautifully. Right up to little things like my daughter was in year 3, and so my neighbours used to take it in turns to walk her to school and do her hair because she had long blonde hair. And we were running Absolute Cool at the time, which is an air conditioning company back then. So he was working. And then someone would pick her up from school and bring her home and take care of her. But this poor little girl, she was only 8 years old and she was away from her mum. It was almost like being boarding at Dirranbandy again, but worse because she knew that even when she saw me on the weekends, most of my time was spent completely just focused 100% on Reed.
Did you realise how much you were changing doing all that?
No, I didn't. And that was why I wrote the book. So I kept a diary. My sister gave me a book, not unlike the one sitting in front of us, and every day I wrote in that book every single thing that happened during the day. And it was really quite cathartic for me at the time. And then I started sharing some of the things on a blog for my friends back in Toowoomba. That was right back when blogs had just started.
When they were cool?
Yeah, when they were cool. And then Emma McTaggart read it. And she contacted me and she said, "Jo, you should turn your blog into a book. It's so well written." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that." And then I showed her the diaries and she just went, "Oh, wow," because there's a lot more in the diaries. And then obviously I've taken quite a bit from the diaries into the book. So the book basically explains how cancer affected me and how it affected my marriage. And it taught me that basically trauma affects us all and it affects us all differently. And the biggest learning thing that I took out of it, which I then put into the book, is to recognise the fact that not everyone deals with trauma exactly the same way. There were times, and I'll just give you an example. So Reed was had to have surgery on his lung. They thought he had a secondary on his lung. So he'd had all these tests and they wheeled him away to lose part of his lung. They were literally going to cut out a third of his lower left lobe on his lung. And I was just so, even thinking about it is tightening me up now. I was just so stressed. I paced up and down the room like a lioness. David climbed up into Reed's bed and went to sleep. I wanted to stab him in the eye with a fork, but I didn't. But I literally was so wild with him. But I since learned quite a long time after. It took me a long time to get over his way of dealing with things. He just had to go to sleep. He would just have to shut down, be quiet. Whereas I was the angry lioness and he was the more calming person. And if you do read the book, you'll actually see at some stage I completely lose it and he steps in and just takes over and calms it all down. So it was amazing to actually recognise that and not judge it.
Oh, well, and it's hard. Well, I have no experience with any of this really. But the judging part I've seen just with family members who passed away and losing Tila's parents and those sorts of things. How people perceive the whole thing is totally different as well.
Yeah. The
commentary you get from people because they think they understand what you're going through and then try and tell you how to solve the problem.
Totally. And it's always, and another thing that I noticed too is you have a group of people around you and you think they're the ones that are going to be there for you. Usually it's not them, it's the ones that are sort of in the background of your friendship groups and things that step up.
Yeah, just appear.
And they're always there. And you just go, wow, I didn't realise that particular person was so good in that space. It's, massive learning curve when you go through something so traumatic. It really is.
And I'm assuming that the whole experience writing the book framed a lot of how you, a lot of views that you probably changed slightly too, because, getting that closer look at loss of life and also yourself. probably if you go back to yourself before it all started and what you viewed the world afterwards, it's probably almost flipped it on its head.
Yeah, there were many things. There's a lot of things. Probably the biggest thing really is just to not judge and not, just because someone's going through something doesn't mean that they're going through it the same way that you're going through it. I think that's probably the biggest thing, and to actually then utilise that learning in a lot of things through life, not just trauma, but, everything. Like everyone has their own story, and always be respectful, I think, is the number one thing. Like I was really not a nice person to be around when Reed was unwell. If you do read the book, there's chapters on how nasty I was. So it's quite eye-opening, and it's confronting in the sense that, people that know me think, oh, it's Jo, she's a nice person, but really
Would you be comfortable sharing an example?
Besides stabbing my husband in the eye with
Well, you
fork.
didn't physically stab.
No.
So that's halfway.
No, I told a nurse how to do a job, basically. And I kept, so there was a particular thing that you used to have this particular ointment put on you to numb the skin before you had a needle. And Reed would have to have a needle called a GCSF, which was a stimulant that he used to have after he finished his chemo. Each time he used to have it in the top of his thigh, and it used to hurt a lot. One nurse told me that we were allowed to use this cream, it was called Emla, to go onto the leg to numb the pain. And then another nurse told me that we couldn't. So I then just kept asking all the nurses until I found one that said that we could. And then when he ended up having it, he wasn't meant to have it, so he ended up having to have it again. And then I just went off. I just told them all how to do their jobs and that they really shouldn't be doing, and it was my fault. I should have just listened and sat back and done as I was told. But in actual fact, I ended up causing more drama and being aggressive and abrasive and, throwing my weight around a lot, which really was not good for anybody at the time.
Look, and it just amazes me, the stories like doing the show and going through these things, because a lot of trauma is also fear. The fear of losing, or the fear of the unknown. You would have had so much unknown in this story, I'm assuming, that you just didn't know day to day at times what was going to happen.
One of the worst things that people used to say to me is just take it a day at a time, just one day at a time, Jo. And I'm a planner. I'm an event planner. I'm a strategizer. I'm a person that constantly looks at every single step. That's not a good thing. It's like waving a red flag at a bull. And telling me to hold. But I had to do it. I had to actually just take one day at a time.
So we then fast forward to, there was obviously the day that there was the tick of all clear.
Yes.
And what was the sense for you? Was it release? Was it excitement? Was it just, we're done?
Well, no, we were definitely not done. So first off, what happened to me was as soon as Reed got better, I got really sick. So my immune system shut down. I ended up being covered in a rash and just some horrible things that I went through. I actually went and saw a counsellor and I got some counselling. Went through all of those, lost a lot of hair. It was just, it was a really horrible time. But Reed went on to, because they had removed his tibia in his right leg and they'd replaced it with his fibula from his left leg. So they took the fibula, which is a little tiny bone about this wide, and put it into a weight-bearing bone. So basically got a promotion. He went on to break his leg then 14 times between the ages of 7 and 15.
Bloody hell.
So we spent the whole rest of his entire childhood on crutches or in an Ilizarov frame, those halo frames with all the pins. He had 4 of those. He had a cast. He was always in a cast or on crutches somehow, or he wore a boot with a raised foot, because when you don't use your bones, they don't grow. Yep. So his right leg became quite short in comparison to his left leg because it was always in a cast or it was always broken. So he used to have these Ilizarov frames to stretch his leg. So we had an app on his phone, on my phone, and they were all coloured, all these pins, and they would tell, like I'd turn the app on and the app would tell me which way to turn the struts on his leg, and I could hear the bone go dunk, dunk, dunk as we'd turn it, and it'd stretch it to straighten his leg. So his leg was like, it was just like it was just really crooked and really short. So they had to straighten it and then lengthen it.
So that
that
had a whole level of stress in its own attached to it.
Totally.
So
You now know why I'm really grey.
I am, because here I am going, how was your tickable, clear sense of relief feeling, when really it's sort of, that was that part of the story. And then they kept going.
It just kept going. And so that brings back to the importance of like places like Hope Horizons, because if Hope Horizons has existed, we would have been going there. So Reed saw podiatrists, physiotherapists. He had to learn to walk again. He saw exercise physiologists. I saw a counsellor. Alex saw a counsellor. Reed saw a counsellor. We all were in that family counselling space. And Hope Horizons actually offers all of those things and more free of charge. So you can go there and have all of that care and have that stress taken off you, and it's all paid for by our community.
Isn't that phenomenal? And it then brings into focus how you're able to take everything that you've went through, put it into Hope, raise that money, build what you did, and that makes a lot more sense now, because I didn't know a lot of this.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of pride that you were able to take all that and build it?
Very much so. When you have a vision and you also know how much you would have actually benefited from that vision had it existed when you were going through it, makes it all the easier, so much easier. Once again, going back to the philanthropy side of things, I have no problem whatsoever asking someone for something for Hope Horizons, because I know how brilliant it actually is for families going through cancer.
I wish I could have put Tila's family onto it. Knowing this now, I think that would have helped immensely. It's kind of hard to know what to ask next after this.
No, that's
Tell me a bit about the book, because obviously you wrote the book, you released the book. While you're in play with a lot of this, I'm assuming, did it feel odd to be releasing something about yourself while still going through it, putting something down on paper that someone can go and pick up and read all about it, just like that?
Yeah. Well, the only people that I am really concerned about with the book is my husband and my son, and neither of them have read the book. Everyone else has read it, and I get a lot of mixed reviews with regards to it. Usually, that was a lot. It's a lot. I mean, it's only a novella, so a novella means it's just over 30,000 words, so it's quite easy to read. There's pictures in it too. But it's writing the book, I felt, was one of the best things I could have done, because I got to share my side that people hadn't really seen. Like, I had a lot of people supporting me, a lot of people rallying around us. Our marriage was really in not a great space, but we had the most amazing friends that didn't judge, and they just, Joe and Dave were just having another blue again. It was really quite, it was really friendly, and it was safe. It was safe. So to put it in a book, there were a lot of things in there that most of my close family and friends already knew. But people that don't know me, and I've sold my book all over the world, like it's nearly sold out, and it's now on Audible, and I know people do listen to it. But it's one of those books that people can get quite a bit from. It's it's a self-help book, really, in the sense that you can read it and you can take something from it, or you can just go, well, that's just Joe's story.
Well, and that's what I said. I've read the first couple of pages, and I've gone, wow, I need more time to read this. And that's not a bad thing. It's just more actually talking to you, and then I'll go back to it. I think I'll understand it better.
Yeah.
But I've never written a book. Tim and I joke about writing a book about our lives, only I just love to tell the story.
Yeah.
But that's because we want to tell it, whereas yours was actually helped you too.
Yes, very much so.
And so if you say it's almost sold out, is there a particular amount of copies there is? Or?
Yeah, we only did 1,000 copies. Yeah, and I think I've got about, there's some at the Lighthouse and there's some at Hope Horizons and I've got some at home. So I think there'd probably be, I don't know, probably about 40 or so left around the place.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah. I'm pretty proud of that. I mean, I'm not nowhere near the Harry Potter series or anything like that, but it was really nice to be able to.
Yeah, I don't think Harry Potter would have got through that. Just saying.
No, but it's one of those. It was something that I had on my list to do in my lifetime, and it was really good to be able to do it. And I had having Emma beside me every step of the way. Putting it all together was really fantastic too.
So now we move on to the hard way. So the hard way is just a couple of questions around, just from you, on what you think on things. So if you could think of the hardest lesson you learned out of all of this, what do you think it would be?
Don't judge. Take time. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're not an expert. You don't know what everyone else is going through. I think having the time to actually sit back and listen, that would have to be one of the best lessons learned. Simple lesson, but yeah.
Listening is a lot of it. I learned it doing this. Kathleen pulled me up and she said, I think you need to talk less and listen more.
Oh.
And I did that. I think it was our third episode, Breaking the Wall over here. And it changed how I did this because all of a sudden I could hear what you were saying to me rather than me just trying to control the conversation. So it's very good advice. And the other question is, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self and just tell her one thing, what piece of advice would you give her?
Don't dance on a stage with a telephone.
to what was the song called again?
Sex on the phone. Oh my God.
It's just too...
No. I think if I had my time again, I'd probably just say, try and take one day at a time. Don't try and keep planning for the future. Don't always look towards the future. Try and just sit back and smell the roses.
So now it's the book of questions. So you get to open the book. I don't even know what question John's written for you.
Okay.
He was very excited to know it was you.
Oh, was he? Yeah.
So you get to read out who the question is from. And
Okay.
then you get to write your own in after. If you're from around here, chances are you've had something embroidered, print or pressed by us. And if you haven't, come look us up.
I can't read his writing. John McVeigh has asked me, when your time comes, who would you like to be remembered for? Or what would you like to be remembered for? Okay. When your time comes, what would you like to be remembered for? Okay. I would like to be remembered for being an advocate, a community person, someone that's made something different for my city and for my town and for my region. And I hope that, I would be remembered to be that I was part of the Hope Horizons group and succeeded in making a lot of money there, but also just the changes that I've made with lots of other charities as well here in town. But I just think I'd like to be remembered for the little bit of volunteering that I've done and will continue to do.
Well, I think it's pretty safe to say you will be. Now you get to write yours in. On the other side, write your name at the top and what are your questions.
Okay. There we go.
Close your mouth, because I don't get to read it.
Oh, okay.
So I leave that for next week.
Right.
So that's bringing us to the end.
Okay.
That's been amazing, mate. I've learned bits about you that I knew bits of the story, but it's every time I do one of these, it ties a bit more together, and it just gives me a newfound respect for everything you've been able to do. You mentioned before that the 4 hot chips is in a couple of places that people can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just look at that thing over there and say, if you want to go buy the 4 hot chips, where can you get it?
So you can either buy it from the Lighthouse with Emma McTaggart, or you can buy it at Hope Horizons, and all the money goes to Hope Horizons now, or you can download it on Audible. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
I'm loving these. They're fantastic.
Well, thank you. And if you want to subscribe to The Hard Way, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, you can find us on Spotify, or you can find us on YouTube. Thank you, mate. That's
Thank
been
you.
fantastic.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you. Thanks, Jack.